Have you ever been playing golf with someone and you hear them say, "Oh, I got stuck on that shot"? I particularly hear this from better players that walk in for a lesson and they say, "I just feel like I'm stuck." Well, what does stuck actually mean, particularly in the downswing, and what can we start to do to fix it? In my opinion, what I've heard from players is when they feel like they are stuck, they feel like their body doesn't have the freedom or the ability to rotate and move through the golf ball as efficiently as they want. And so essentially the player's left with two options. They can keep the club face, again, because they're not rotating so well, they can keep the club face open, and for a right-handed player, they can hit some blocks out to the right, or they can allow that club head to overtake the hands, they can roll that club face over, and they can try to time it up to the fact where they might hit a small push draw, but more often than not, that club face is closing too much, and they're hitting kind of quick hooks over to the left for a right-handed player. And so what's creating this problem? Well, like I said, the player's not able to move efficiently or rotate efficiently through the ball. When that happens, the handle of the golf club tends to chase out toward the target line too much, the face angle tends to rotate a lot, and that's where you get that high rate of closure of the club face through the ball, and it just gets really difficult to time. And so essentially what this player is missing is they're not able to rotate, stay in posture, and pivot efficiently to get the handle to move around the corner to stabilize the face. So what's causing this, right? Well, I first want us to understand, most players that feel stuck, they have a club path that's moving some amount from inside out. And so for a right-handed player, that's a club path that's moving a little bit more towards right field, but not towards left field where the path is severely outside in. But how they create this path is the most important thing. Let me explain. You can really create that inside-out path in a multitude of ways, but one way we need to make sure we're doing if we're feeling stuck is we need to make sure we're not creating this inside-out path with some sort of bodily compensation. Let me explain what I mean. If I'm a player who gets up to the top and I all of a sudden add a ton of early extension or I thrust my pelvis in toward the ball, well, that's going to shallow the golf club, right? That's going to push the club head behind me, and now as I come through the ball, my path is from the inside, but again, I'm pretty jammed up with the body. The arms don't have a lot of space. The handle's high. The left arm's going to catapult off my chest. I'm going to rotate the face, right? So that's one way to actually shift that path more from the inside is through some form of early extension. The other way you can do it is you can just simply refuse to rotate on the way down. And so if I did that, if I just kept my butt and my chest facing you guys and my butt facing the target, well, that club path is going to come so far from inside out. That's great, but that club face is going to rotate over like crazy. And again, I'm stuck, right? And then the third way is we can get up to the top and we can simply start to drop the trail shoulder, elevate the lead shoulder. You can see how that pushes the club head more behind me. And now that path is moving a bunch from the inside. However, in each one of those scenarios, I'm not rotating freely or efficiently through the golf ball. And so I'm inevitably at some point in my career going to feel like I'm really stuck through the ball. And I'm not going to have the face rotation or the rate of closure control that I want to have to hit awesome shots. So what's the answer here? Well, the answer is actually we need to make sure the golf club is swinging from the inside using the wrists and the arms and the hand path more so than using some type of bodily compensation. And here's what I mean by that. When you start your downswing, there are multiple elements that can push the club out in front of you or keep the club head behind you. This is commonly referred to as like steep versus shallow, right? And so essentially what we need to do, if you feel like you're stuck through the golf ball, is we need to make sure this golf club is swinging from inside out because of something being created with the wrists and the arms and the hand path instead of something that's being created with the body, okay? And so if that's you, my encouragement to you would be take a video of your swing and just make sure if that club is pitching outside in the downswing or if it's getting very, very steep, your brain knows there's a target out there and it knows that you want to swing relatively straight into the ball, particularly better players, okay? Now, if this club is steep in the downswing, I'm going to find some sort of bodily compensation to try and make sure I can get that path somewhat straight into the ball. So this is very important. If you're looking to get unstuck, first make sure the golf club is swinging inside out because of something you're doing with your arms, your wrists, or your hand path. And by that, I simply mean make sure the hands are far enough behind you, they're not in front of you. Make sure the golf club is shallowing with some amount of forearm rotation or lead wrist flexion. But make sure the golf club is shallow enough in transition to provide the incentive for your body to now rotate freely through the golf ball. That would be step one. Step two would be to now identify, okay, I'm shallowing the golf club, but maybe I still have a little bit too much trail side bend, or maybe I still early extend a little bit too much. Then we can attack those problems. But if we don't first create an environment for those problems to not exist, you're simply not going to want to fix them. And so let's say now you've got this golf club in a good spot and you still early extend. Well, you could do the classic chair behind the butt drill. You could take a garbage can and you could set it a little bit behind your left foot here. And as you come into impact, you could really try and feel your chest low and knock that garbage can over. That would be an awesome drill. Or let's say you feel like that golf club is shallowing nicely in transition, but you get your lead side too high and your trail side drops too much. What could you do if that's you? You could take a club across the chest and you could simply try and keep that left side of the golf club down as long as possible. Feel the chest opening and essentially try and create the exact opposite feel. Regardless of what issue you have, I want you to understand, if you're stuck, to get unstuck, the answer is usually not just trying to get the arms higher in the air and keeping your body moving inefficiently. The answer is typically to find the root cause of the problem and then make sure your body can pivot through the golf ball.